Welcome to the KAJ Masterclass. Today on Business and Money, we are joined by Shakti Sharma. She has spent 12 years in investment banking and management consulting before becoming a multi six-figure business in 15 years, before building a multi six-figure business in 15 years. And we learn from her the difference between making money and keeping it and why most women fall at the second. So we'll talk about all this and much more. Welcome to the show, Shakti.
Thank you for having me in the show, Ajay. And I just want to put that addition. It was 15 months, not 15 years. But thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Absolutely, absolutely. 15 months it is. So we'll talk about all this and we'll learn about all this from you. But before that, let's learn a bit about your journey, your background, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
Yeah, I will. I think you shared that in the introduction, but I'll share it once again. Um, I actually was born in New Delhi and I grew up there. And after doing my engineering, I moved to the US. And in US, my goal was to be at the peak of whatever I was doing. And at that point, my career was in corporate sector. So I went to top schools and I got really great jobs and did my MBA. So I want to take you to this moment in 2014. This is a time I had recently finished my MBA from University of Chicago Booth School of Business. I secured a really phenomenal management consulting role and I was really living the lifestyle, which really meant that every Monday morning I would wake up and head to the airport, travel to my client location, do really amazing work, stay at the best hotels. And at night, every night, I would go eat at really cool restaurants and I was racking up the miles. And l- it life was fun at that moment because of the lifestyle I was living. Now, on the other hand, in my personal life, I was at another peak there because I was pregnant for 8 months by then with my firstborn, and I was married to my soulmate, living in Chicago downtown. So for me, that moment in my life represents pinnacle of both personal and professional success. However, something happened one night where we had a very silly argument take place between me and my husband. And something about that argument did not really settle well with me. And I couldn't understand why. So all night long, I couldn't sleep. And imagine a pregnant woman trying to toss and, turn the whole night without any sleep. And next morning, I woke up. I had so much pain in my heart. I woke up, packed my bags, and I left the house because something just felt so unsettled inside me. You know that feeling where sometimes you feel such deep hurt in your heart and this piercing pain, and you don't even have words to express what you're experiencing. You can't even communicate with anyone. You just have to kind of run away from the situation to find your space, to find your calm so that you can sort through the feelings. And that was really me in that moment. So I checked into a hotel and closed the doors behind me, and somehow it felt like the dam just opened up, the floodgates just opened up, and I just kept crying and crying and crying. Still wasn't sure why I was crying, but it felt like I just let it all out and my body just couldn't hold it anymore. And in all the ways I had to be strong as almost a new mother stepping into motherhood and a management consulting professional, who had to like hold it together and fly everywhere. I just let go in that moment. And this is the moment where my mind wasn't still understanding what happened, why I'm so deeply hurt. And you can call it pregnancy hormones, you can call it all these like waves of emotions just came up, and I had to sit with all of that. So in one moment, right then and there, I started like asking these questions. Why did it happen? And somehow something like unexplainable happened in that moment. I started hearing a voice inside my head, and this voice was very motherly. It was very like voice of my wisdom, and she was calm, she was reassuring, she had answer to everything. And I asked like, why am I in so much pain? um and this voice told me, she literally like flashed back my whole life, how I grew up in these like expectations. You know how being an Indian woman, my what I was told by the society and culture, that I have to be pretty, marry rich, my job is to raise babies, and that was my role confined. And I also saw flashbacks of my parents' marriage. And, she was telling me that all the kind of the disconnect from their marriage is passed down to my marriage now. And this is the reason why this argument, which was so trivial, but this argument with my partner, with my husband, hurt so deeply in my heart. And then I was talking about, my career, why I feel such a big void in my heart, why I can't celebrate all my accomplishments. And she told me again, Shakti, you have created success, but you have abandoned your heart in the pursuit of success. And that's why everything looks so good on paper, every box is checked, but it feels so hollow. And all of this conversation was just eye opening for me. It is the reality check. Wasn't something I knew that was happening in my own life. I thought I made it. I thought I could be happy. And she kept telling me that, like, I asked her, how, as a new mother, how do I be happy? Because now I have to keep a child happy, right? Like, as a new mom, that was nerve wracking for me. And she told me, Shakti, you have to learn the art of intuition. You have to understand who you are. You have to start honoring your own heart. You have to allow yourself to be happy so that other people around you can find their happiness. And that was the moment that changed my whole life, my career trajectory. And honestly, looking back, even though this happened in 2014 and feminine wealth movement was officially launched in like this year 2026, it took me all these years to really start to take the learning from that moment and create a change that can ripple out in the world in this way. And this is the reason why feminine wealth movement exists, because women have been told all these lies, all of these cultural expectations, societal expectation on who we need to be. And in that pursuit, we forget ourselves. In that pursuit, we take on the beliefs imposed on us. And when we step into our leadership in our, whether it's business, whether it's job, we start operating from those old beliefs, that old paradigm of what a woman's success looks like and feels like, or what it should need to be, and it doesn't work anymore. So the feminine wealth movement is really about bringing this new paradigm of success where women can have it all, by letting go from our subconscious all the programming that we have been receiving all our life about success, about beauty, about personal life, about fulfillment, about receiving, dismantle it so that we can build in our own version of what success needs to be in our own life so that we can not only feel accomplished on the paper, but we can also feel fulfilled right in our heart.
Absolutely, absolutely. Shakti, thank you for that. So, to understand it better for the audience, how should they understand what is it that you are trying to tell them through what you are doing, through what you are saying?
So, I want to talk to you in a very business language. A lot of people out there struggle because of their confidence, right? Whether it's a sales conversation, whether it's being visible online, whether it's creating offers, whether it's like premium offers, high ticket offers, a lot of people choose to, like, the reason I see a lot of my clients and women and even men in my world, a lot of times they're held back by this very unspoken fear. And in those moments, they choose to play small and not really play to their full potential, not really, take the courage to step into a field of discomfort that challenges them and that also allows their biggest growth. And most times when I peel back the layers and I see why it is happening, I notice in their body there's a subtle anxiety that runs. I notice in their body that there's a level of stress that they hold. I notice in their mind there are expectations or standards, and there's a lot of pressure people are holding behind the scenes. So when I peel back more and more, I notice that it comes from a lot of these old beliefs that we have inherited. And especially in our careers, most times than not, it's we have grown up seeing our fathers, um, how they earn money. And let's just put it this way, our parents didn't have it easy. The generation before them in our ancestry, they didn't have it easy. So we've seen people struggle around money. We've seen the struggles carry from generation to generation. And whether we are aware of it or not, these struggles have created belief system in our subconscious that we are operating from now. So most of my work actually goes in peeling back these layers, really bringing the body in that grounded space and starting to dismantle these stories and beliefs and bring people in a new space where they can choose what beliefs are actually conducive to their growth and to growing and scaling their business. Does that make sense?
Yes, indeed, indeed. So, when you talk about women and helping them understand the difference between making money versus keeping money, what is it that you are trying to tell them?
Yeah, so I'm going to speak this not just to women, but also men. There are two parts to manifestation. We're constantly manifesting as human beings, right? We're constantly creating opportunities for ourselves. Now, at the same time, I don't think the world understand. At the same time, we're also destructing what is not in alignment with us. And sometimes the destruction happens in a very sneaky way. For example, I personally went through a massive destruction in my own business back in pandemic, where my brick and mortar business was shut down because of all the government imposed um, you know guidelines. And even now you look at so many people out in the world are losing their jobs. And when I look at energetically why this is happening, why there has to be this external event that comes in and shuts down on what we are trying to create, I notice only one thing, and that is people have lost the excitement for what they are building. And in that way, in that process, they have their bodies, whether they're aware of it or not, there's a subtle resentment. And these things come up in examples like you're trying too hard, you're hustling, nothing is working, or you're feeling stuck, or you have a job but you can't really take that, you don't really feel like you're showing up as a leader, or you're scaling your business but things are just going slower than how you want them to be. So in those moments, I notice that there's that subtle resentment that builds up, and that resentment is the indicator to the universe, whether you believe in universe or not. But energetically, that is where all that you're trying to create is squashed down, and sometimes the pattern is disrupted by an external event where you lose what you have created. And it's not a failure of you, it's not that you're doing the wrong thing, or the thing is really hard, but it is really that you're not tapped into your highest excitement. You're not stepping into what you're creating with a sense of gratitude, with a sense of appreciation. And this is when keeping the wealth is not just a game of doing more. Keeping the wealth is a process of refinement, where you have to constantly keep asking yourself the question in the most honest way: am I still lit up by what I'm creating? If you are lit up, if you're so heck yeah in your heck yeah frequency, what you're creating is going to flourish. But if you have lost that spark for any reason, then what you're creating may feel hard. And that is how the universe works. This is by design. You're constantly, in any moment, in every moment, you're putting out to the world what you want more of. And, wealth grows, money grows when you are, all your energies are in that heck yeah frequency. And that is really what I mean by keeping the wealth is a whole different game. And a lot of people are not aware of how to actually play it in a way. And it needs that constant refinement and constant deep honesty about what are you truly excited about.
Absolutely. So, who is your ideal client, Shakti? What do you do at Feminine Wealth Movement?
My ideal person is a woman with big dreams. She is a movement maker. She is a leader. She's not here to simply make money. She's here to do something, to create a different world. She's ambitious, but she also knows that honoring her heart is the path. She's the one who wants it all. She is not willing to compromise or make those tough choices between being a mom or being a wife versus being a business leader. So those are my ideal women, and a lot of my women are, they have this extraordinary ability to feel. And that means when there's any disconnect in themselves, they know, they can feel it, they know, and they know it's time to change. And a lot of these women have high IQ, and especially with the work I do with them, their IQ actually, their EQ, not IQ, but EQ really shoots to the roof. And with their EQ, with their emotional intelligence, they actually build their business, constantly feeding and fueling their work through their emotions, and really step into their truth and their biggest power. A lot of these women are breaking generational patterns. They're breaking the rules that the society handed them, the culture said they need to do, and they're really stepping into their truth to stand with, own completely who they are, and stand with what they're meant to create in their purpose.
Absolutely. One last question is that for such women, how do they, reconcile their feminine energetic energy with hard financial decisions?
This is all about capacity, and just going back to anatomy, just pure anatomy. There is a gut to brain connection. There is a whole meridian, the whole nervous system connects the gut to the brain. And part of the work is to be in our softness, in our heart, in our bodies, in our wombs, but also letting that really fuel the intelligence that they have. So women a lot of times in the world play the game of, if I sound knowledgeable, I will be perceived as an expert. But this is not the whole game of knowledge, especially when it comes to business. Everything in your work requires your emotional intelligence. For example, your marketing speaks to people when you share your story, when you speak in the voice that connects with your own emotion. Your stories land differently, your marketing messaging land differently, your sales conversation go differently, how you support your client work differently, because they come from a place of emotion. And when you are so connected to your own emotions and bring in this beautiful marriage of your intelligence, you get to hold space for your clients in a very different day, in a very different way. You get to really guide them in a transformation in a whole different way. So I have found every time I have grown my business, it has come from only one way, and that is to hold the sacred balance between your feelings and your intelligence. And from that place, business has flourished so much effortlessly than trying to push harder and hustle in the pursuit of making something happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is so much to learn about all this from you, Shakti, and I'm sure a lot of people, a lot of women across the globe will want to connect with you, perhaps be your client. What's the best way for them to do so?
Ajay, can I put in one more example here?
Of course, of course.
I think there's a misconception in the world. People think of feminine energy as a soft, like a soft, feel good energy. And this is not truth at all. This is actually one of those cultural lies that we have. This is societal lie, actually, that we have been made to believe that a woman, her role is to smile, look pretty, and, have her like sweet singy voice. But when you look at Ocean, she's all feminine energy. She roars. Every wave that comes, it's a big roar from the ocean. Or if you have ever seen a woman going through childbirth, I have given, my two births were natural, one was even home birth. And the raw power you access during those events, in those moments of creation and absolute miracle of birthing a child in the world, there's raw power in those moments that actually make it happen. And w- feminine energy is not soft at all. Feminine energy is a full package. She can be soft when she chooses to, but she can be such a mighty force, you know especially when it comes to business, when she needs to be. And all of this is available, and all of this is not the masculine, like, push through energy, the hustle energy, the hard work energy. This is all is the power of her emotions, of her emotional intelligence, on using her emotions and channeling them in a way to create masterpieces in the world through her business. So feminine energy can hold all different flavors and tones, and that is the beauty of her. So all of this is available to women out there, and one of the easiest ways, one of the tools that I use is journaling. Every single morning I start my day with putting down in my journal, how am I feeling, and just coming in the stillness, coming back to the breath, and just doing that internal check before going to meeting, doing that internal check. Yes, I have stuff to say about what I believe in, but how am I feeling? How do I want to deliver it? When it comes to doing marketing, what emotions I want to paint every piece of content with, and how do I want to speak to my clients? This is all available to us, and it really starts with a simple tool of journaling every day and making it a habit to do that check on your emotions and see where they are, and how do you want to show up in full transparency of how you feel, and use that as a catalyst to create a transformation through your work.
Wonderful, wonderfully explained, Shakti, indeed. What's the best way for people to connect with you, Shakti?
So what I'm offering is actually I have a community. So you would go to femininewealthmovement.com. You'll come to the landing page, my homepage. It's called femininewealthmovement.com. And there are so many buttons there. You can click on anyone and join the community. It's a Facebook group where you can be part of our incredible community of women who are doing this work together. The other way I could also serve is by inviting you to a free conversation. It's called the Wealth Breakthrough Call. And in this session, in this 30-minute session, we sit down and look at your business and see what's working and where what some of those kind of low hanging opportunities are. We create a game plan strategically, and we create a game plan energetically on how do we bring your business and your leadership to the next level. And it's a free conversation. You would simply go to femininewealthmovement.com slash wealth dash breakthrough. Again, it's femininewealthmovement.com slash wealth dash breakthrough. And it's a free call, and I would love to have that conversation with you.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.